I What a year, praise God. A little nervous, sorry. Okay. Psalm 96:8 says, "Give to the Lord all the glory he deserves." Today I want to give him that glory, honoring and praising who he is and what he has done for me and what he can and will do for anyone who will simply be still and allow him to work in your life. Romans 11:36, "For everything comes from him and exists by his power and is intended for his glory. All glory to him forever. Amen." I know several of you are familiar with my story after Hope House's annual report. Shout out to Casey Hammonds. 11 years ago, on September 23rd, my husband of 14 years took his own life. My son Jack was 5. My daughter Molly wasn't quite 2. As you can imagine, this shook up my entire world. I was devastated, and for the first time in my life, I was all alone. I had never been alone with my thoughts and had 2 small kids who looked to me for everything. Looking back, I'm not really sure how I went from a registered nurse with a life that kind of seemed normal to a drug-dealing addict who slept in her car, but it unraveled quickly. I found that getting high helped me forget about the pain of losing my husband, and that's how it all started. I eventually lost my job because I became so unreliable, calling in, sometimes just not showing up or being late every single day. Bills began to stack up and my traditional job was no more, so I started hanging out with the wrong people and falling into a lifestyle that supported my need to be numb. I eventually lost my home and moved myself and my kids from place to place, trying to hang on to some sort of function in my dysfunctional world. I started selling drugs while slowly becoming more and more addicted to them. I would make every excuse in the world and lie to myself to rationalize in my mind that I didn't have a problem. It's crazy the things we tell ourselves just to make it okay. My children were taken from me, and at that moment was when my downward spiral took a deep plunge. Jack and Molly were the last 2 things that helped me to keep me together. When they were taken, it was as if my lungs had been removed. I couldn't breathe. I went into survival mode. I became homeless and alternated between sleeping on different people's couches to sleeping in my car in Walmart's parking lot. There were even times when I didn't have a car and I slept on the ground. It was a sad existence. I lived for the hustle. I would be up for days, just a shell of a person. I'd like to think I was always a decent person, but there's extended periods of time when I'm not sure what I did. It's that foggy in my mind, a literal blur of a few years where I wasn't truly doing anything but existing. I eventually got arrested. I was charged with 5 counts of trafficking and was lodged at the Warren County Jail. For 10 months that felt like 10 years, I endured some of the most dehumanizing experiences I've had in life to date. But it was also the first time in what had been at least a decade of using a sobering experience. No choice but to be sober, and when that fog lifted, I had a whole life of regrets waiting on me. I opened my Bible and I guess I can be thankful for that. I grew up in church. I've always believed in God, but I had been so far removed from him for so long. I started doing Bible studies and writing Christian pen pals while I waited for a judge to decide my fate. When I had first entered the jail about a month or so in, I filled out an application for program living for women. I also took Jobs for Life. That was the highlight of my time incarcerated. Those women that came genuinely cared, and I never felt judged by any of them. 2 of the women from that class, Angie Hodgnett and Betty Carter, I've remained close to them and love them very much to this day. On one class in particular, Adam York came to talk about program living. And I told him I had filled out an application, and I said my first name, and he said my last name. He knew who I was. He not only knew who I was, he said he'd been praying over my application, and it was at that exact moment that I knew Hope House's program living is where I wanted to start my life over again. For years, I wanted to do better. I just honestly didn't know how or where to start. I was facing 23 years in prison, but I ended up taking 7, and the judge granted me shock probation to Hope House. On November 29th, exactly 1 year ago yesterday, I came by police car to 461 Glen Lily Road. I was scared to death and honestly didn't know what to expect. I came with the clothes on my back that I was busting out of after 10 months of weight gain from being in a cell. This is the part where life gets grand. Not really. This is where the work really started. That morning when I left the jail, I knew my life was about to change forever, but I really had no idea. My roommate was Abby. She was this real reserved type person. Not anything like the woman I know today. I woke up after not really sleeping good that first night, and Abby was reading her Bible, and she told me she was trying to have Bible study to replace the Suboxone that she usually started her day with. And I felt that in my soul. Just trying to make new habits to replace the void where addiction usually resided. Every day was started with 6:30 a.m. devotion, half asleep women, sometimes half dressed, in the kitchen, starting the day with a message from God. A hunger for the word was ignited in me, and I knew I was where I was meant to be. The classes we took I loved. I'd never studied the Bible, not like this, and I felt God moving in that place every day. I would like to say that it was easy because I enjoyed it, but in all honesty, every day was a battle, sometimes with no one else but me. Here I was in a new place around 7 other women that I didn't know. It's one thing to go through things that are hard, but it's a whole other thing to be going through things with multiple people who are also going through things that are hard. And then women on top of that. I had many moments of struggle, and I'm not proud of the many fits that I threw. I know there's plenty of women in this room who know firsthand how delicate my emotions can be. But every day I stuck it out. I've always been a person who's afraid of failure. Going outside of my comfort zone is not a place I like to be. But early on at Hope House, Program Living, I was doing things different. When I came there, I made a promise to myself. Yeah, 12 months seems like a long time. But 12 months dedicated to the betterment of yourself, when will I ever get this chance again? Early on, I set goals, and I knew that for the first time in a long time, I was going to stick to it. I had to give myself a chance. I came to the house with the mindset for change. Every aspect of change, my physical health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health. You see, people suffer in this world because they are broken and have broken relationships. I've learned that. The first relationship that I wanted to work on was my broken relationship with God. I began to pray to Him because I knew that I couldn't fix things on my own. I needed God's grace to intervene in my life. Before Hope House, I really didn't even know how to pray. It was usually short conversations with 2 words, please, God. Talking to God and becoming more desperate in my prayers, letting Him know how much I needed Him. My eyes are fogging up, sorry. Letting Him know how much I needed Him and how I wanted better in my life. Well, that began my true path to recovery. Hope House provided the safe, stable environment in which I could work on establishing a better relationship with God. A place where the crazy world was shut out. No cell phones for 6 months, couldn't go anywhere. But our house might not have been what's considered in the safest neighborhood in town, but I always felt safe. My emotional health was in pretty bad shape too. Early on in the program, they set you up with a therapist, and mine was Amy Carter. She definitely had her hands full with me. I came to Hope House feeling scared, angry, sad, hurt, alone, and with years of undealt grief that had placed its toll on me. But with that, I need this change mindset, I was ready to open up and share my trauma. We had individual and group therapy, and a lot of tears were shed, but healing truly began. My physical health was terrible. I was just a mess. My body hurt all the time. I was overweight, depressed about how much I'd given up on myself. Before my husband died, I started a fitness journey. But just like everything else, I gave up on it. Ask anybody who's been in program living, CrossFit is a 4-letter word. And it's definitely not for the weak at heart. I came to Hope House on a Tuesday and began CrossFit that following Thursday. I wish I could say it was a success from the start, but that would be a lie. It would be hard and painful, and on most days I prayed for elevated toilet seats, and ibuprofen became my new drug of choice. But when you want something you've never had, you've got to do some things you've never done. I've heard that my whole life, and for the first time I truly was putting it into practice. To date, in the last 8 months, I've lost 86 pounds. I've gone down 5 pant sizes, and overall, great health. I'm on a multivitamin, ladies. I've still got goals, and I'm not giving up on those either. I just didn't want to weigh again after Thanksgiving, so I just stuck with 86. The program for women is still fairly new, and already so many wonderful things have come out of 461 Glen Lily Road. Stories of redemption and recovery I've been so fortunate to witness firsthand. Lives being changed because of God's grace and the hard work and dedication of so many people. The volunteers that have shared their time and love with us have been instrumental in this women's house. Cynthia Llewellyn, Carolyn Price, Angie Hodgson, Betty Carter, Kathy Benz, Lee Gray, Elise Sauber, Liz Harbin, Dion Benson, Gary Thompson, to the women from Mount Olive Church and Living Hope who shared fellowship and excellent food, and most importantly, their time. All the women at the house I know are grateful for that, and we couldn't have done it without them. We're also grateful for all the people behind the scenes that donate to Program Living. We couldn't have done it without you. So thankful to have been exposed to so many godly women and people in my life who have taught me about God's love and grace. They have shown us what it looks like to walk a life close to God and are all beautiful examples and role models. I remember thinking when I first came to Hope House, where did they find these women? It's like sometimes I forget how involved God is in every single thing. There's no such thing as coincidences, and I know this now. I have met and grown to love so many people because of my time at Hope House, and I'd like to take this time to thank them. To my therapist, Amy Carter, for all those times you coaxed words out of me and feelings out of me, I love you and I thank you. To my case manager, Lee Bowdock, for helping me with a plan and plugging me into resources I didn't even know I had. Our intake coordinator, Harley Webb. I love you, and we both come a long way from so many years ago. To our program director, Stephanie Ketchy, how close we've become in such a short time. I don't know, there you are. Sorry, it is hard to see up here. You were truly in a position you were made for, and I've cherished our conversations. Your advice is always right on time. To the men's director, Justin Crow, a phenomenal preacher and teacher, thank you for always being available for advice and last-second prayers. Intake coordinator at the men's house, Jonathan Gillard, you are the one person I can count on to always say the right thing and at the right time. The way you find joy in other people's successes touches my heart, and I thank you and love you. Wherever you're, I don't know where you're at either. Hey, there he is. Okay. To New Leaf coordinator, Josh Murphy, man, on days when I've needed encouragement, you've been there. It's been a joy and a pleasure to work for you and with you. You truly lead by example. And, well, I'm not really sure what your actual title is or what you even do, Ernie Hubbard. I don't even know if he's here. But for all the laughs, all the diapers and shaving cream surprises I've had on my car at 12:30 in the morning, I'll never forget, and I promise I will get you back, wherever. Is he here? Oh, man. We have to replay that one. Quentin Beck, my direct supervisor. Well, that's what I let him think anyways. I love you, brother. Marika Tisdale, our HR and go-to for keeping it all together at Hope House, being available and supportive. To Casey Hammonds, thank you for providing an environment. Whoa, wrong. I skipped. Sorry. To Casey Hammonds, thank you for what you do, for telling my story and the stories of so many others. I promise I will be available to stuff envelopes as long as my hands work. To Brian Lewis, thank you for providing an environment where so many people can find God and take the time to get their lives back on track. I know I don't have to tell you this because you know, but miracles happen at Hope House every single day. Small and big, life-changing moments. God is truly in this. To Adam York, you may not, You may not be with us every day anymore, but I will forever be grateful to you for the parts you have played in my journey. You believed in me when I didn't believe in me. Our conversations will never be forgotten. To the women still in the program at the house, I love you all, and I want you to take advantage of your time at the house. Yeah, you can just get by doing the bare minimum, but reach deep and give it all you got. You'll never regret the investment you make in yourself. To Abby, Brooke, Melinda, Jesse, and all the women who have moved on before me from Hope House, I will never forget our time together, the good, the bad, and the oh so ugly. I pray we all stay on a good path with God as our foundation. All the tears of happiness and pain are things I will never forget. My story isn't finished, only this chapter. I still have battles before me. They aren't easy, but nothing worth having is easy, you know? I think my motivation for change comes from God, and also, I was tired of not being who I was meant to be. You only have this one opportunity called life. You may have 1 million start-overs and do-overs. Thankfully, we serve a God of second chances. You have to put into practice every single day things that make you who you want to be. Thank you.